Hello Wizards, Warlocks, and Warriors, welcome to Multiverse. So we got a new trailer for Dragon Age 4, let's talk about it. And now just a bit of background first, way back when I used to play games like Baldur's Gate 2, Icewind Dale, and more. But then there was a bit of a drought at some point for a couple of years when they not really have any good games like that. And then we got Dragon Age Origins. It was the successor to Baldur's Gate that we had been waiting for. And basically, it is what Neverwinter Nights should have been, and sadly, it wasn't. What we were waiting for was basically a game like Baldur's Gate, but with 3D graphics, and that's pretty much what the Dragon Age Origin was. Obviously, it was not in the Dungeons and Dragons universe. It's BioWare who had created pretty much their own world. From what I understand, they had a lot of issues dealing with Wizards of the Coast way back when to make Baldur's Gate or Icewind Dale or even Neverwinter Nights. So at some point, they decided not to deal with Wizards of the Coast anymore, and they decided to make their very own IP, which was Dragon Age Origin. They did something similar with Star Wars, apparently dealing with LucasArts. It was a bit of a pain in the butt when it came to make Star Wars games. So at some point they decided to make their own Star Wars, which was Mass Effect. Although what a twist, in a weird twist of fate, they actually went back to work with Star Wars for the Old Republic. So when we got Dragon Age Origin way back when, we were doing the happy dance because we got the successor to Baldur's Gate that we had been waiting for. Sadly, something that often happens is that they had a success. From what I understand, they had a pretty big success with Dragon Age Origins, but somehow they felt like they had to reinvent the wheel. So when the time came to make a Dragon Age 2, they literally made a whole new game. Dragon Age 2 had little in common with Dragon Age, other than maybe the name and some of the lore. And even then, the design, the visuals looked quite different from Dragon Age 1. Like Flemeth in Dragon Age 2, didn't really look like the Flemeth from Dragon Age Origins. Or the same with the Kunari. Like the Kunari from Dragon Age Origins to Dragon Age 2 were as different as the Klingons from Star Trek, the original series, to Star Trek The Next Generation. Now, there's a whole bunch of reasons and speculations about why the game felt and looked so different in Dragon Age 2. We're not going to get into that today. And then we got Dragon Age Inquisition, which again was a completely different game. Again, with Dragon Age Inquisition, they completely reinvented the wheel and made what was pretty much a different game, a new game, but with some of the lore that was the same. For example, we saw the return of Morgan briefly in Dragon Age Inquisition. For Dragon Age 2, the game had become a lot more linear, but with Dragon Age Inquisition, they made it almost like some sort of sandbox. Like, basically, you had different sandbox. So you had the sandbox from, let's say, Chapter 1, so you could pretty much explore any way you wanted to, until you would move on to the next chapter. And that was pretty much like that throughout the whole game. And in each game, you would play a different character, a new protagonist. For the first game, you would play the Grey Warden. For the second game, you played the Champion of Kirkwall. And for the third game, you played the Inquisitor. For Dragon Age 4, it would seem that you will play the Veilguard. Although I'm not clear if the Veilguard is going to be your protagonist, or if the Veilguard will refer to the whole group, to the whole party. I guess we'll find out soon enough. The game had a different title for a long time, but recently it was changed to Dragon Age The Veilguard. I'm not going to mention the original name, it is a bit of a spoiler, sort of, and if somehow you don't know anything about Dragon Age 4, or if somehow you did not play Dragon Age Inquisition just yet, or you started playing it but you're not finished just yet, there's a bit of a spoiler in the old title, so I'm not going to mention it. So we had a new trailer for Dragon Age 4, and supposedly the footage we are seeing in the trailer is actual game engine footage. So supposedly the gameplay should look like the footage that we do see in the trailer. Sadly, this is not my first rodeo. We did see game in the past that supposedly were showing actual footage from the game. But as it turned out, in some cases, it was actual pre-rendered footage that was made just for the trailer. And then when we saw the actual footage in the game, it didn't quite look quite the same. So I will reserve my judgment until we actually do see some gameplay. We are supposed to see some gameplay preview Tuesday, June 11th, 2024. So we'll wait until then to pass judgment on what the gameplay actually looks like. Now, I've seen some people who were not too happy about the look of the graphics in the trailer. Basically, it seems to be that the graphics are not exactly realistic. They're not really cartoony either, like a game like Fortnite. It is somewhere in between. So it has this weird quality of not being quite realistic, but not being quite cartoon, and being somewhere in the middle. Although Dragon Age is supposed to be a dark fantasy setting, so I can understand if people expected Dragon Age to be a dark fantasy game with dark fantasy graphics, but also a dark fantasy atmosphere. But the trailer does have this weird cartoony feel that does not quite fit with dark fantasy. Personally, I don't mind the graphic look that we're seeing right now. If the game looks like that, it'll be fine. But I can understand if some people were disappointed by the trailer. So we should see some gameplay June 11th. But from what I understand, the game will be released in fall 2024. Is it going to be in October? Is it going to be in November? December? We don't know at this point. My guess would be late November so that we can get the game for the Christmas holidays. But we don't have an official date just yet. As soon as we do get an official date, I will let you guys know about it. And Tuesday, June 11th, 2024, again, we will get some gameplay preview. So once we do get a look at those previews, I might make another video to talk about it. I guess we're gonna have to wait and see for that.
What do you think?